Okay.
Yeah, we are live, Marcel.
Okay, perfect. So, hi, Kari.
Welcome.
Welcome to our show.
Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Hello, hi, Kari.
Hi,
Hi,
you welcome
Marcel.
as well. So, let's start with the first part as usual. Kari, could you please introduce yourself? Could you tell us something about you? Who is the Kari?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, Kari Kakkonen. I'm from Helsinki, from Finland. And I have, as I like to say, man of many hats because I tend to do lots of things around testing. And basically, I have almost 30 years of experience in a number of companies, mostly consulting and training companies. So within testing, also processes, also DevOps, AI, agile. So I do lots of things like that. But I tend to train mostly and run a training business, and that's what I've been doing past several years. I used to do it know it for a few decades, and now I'm running it through my own company, Dragons Out. So I have a training business right now here, and that training has covered lots of software testing topics. Some of them ISTQB courses, some TMMI courses, and then I many years ago started also branching it towards agile and DevOps and different tooling in the CI/CD pipeline. So right now there's plenty of different courses, like 100 courses, and probably like 20 virtual trainings in my virtual trainer team. So it's quite a big ecosystem these days, and so that's one of my hats. And my second hat, I would like to say, is my book business or my book ambition. So I tend to write books around testing. For the book called Dragons Out, I also set up a company, Dragons Out, so that's how the company is called that. So I totally love that idea where I try to take the testing to children with this fantasy and testing mix. Within that book business, lately I've also written a book with my co-author Marko Rytkönen about software testing leadership. So it's called Act to Lead, this book. So that's pretty brilliant. And I'm actually quite excited because we are actually releasing in English also next week. So that is pretty cool.
And what's the English name of the book?
It's also Act to Lead Software Testing Leadership Handbook. So that's my second and my third hat is ISTQB. So I like to be a volunteer in this largest organization when it comes to software testing in the world. I'm currently a part of a team that is building a syllabus around DevOps. So it's testing and DevOps, or quality and DevOps. So that's also pretty exciting. And I'm also a volunteer in another. So that's a fourth hat now. My board of director membership in TMMI. So I want to improve testing through that approach. So those are my four typical hats. And of course, I have other hats as hobbies and things like that too. But maybe that's a different thing. Not for today.
No, that would be interesting. What's your hobbies? Do you have sauna? I would guess the answer is
All of
yes.
these actually multiple saunas. So that's all
We expected multiple.
I'm also a kayaking instructor, and I also do a cappella singing. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
I do lots of cool stuff I like to do.
Yeah, it reminds me. I think we discussed that maybe last time when in a prep. Okay.
That's good. I'm not surprised with the saunas. That's good. With the multiple, yeah, that's true. But I guess
that open the detailed discussion because we would heavily.
No. We probably will stack this. Yeah. But we can maybe move, to this, that the part of the hot seat question, our how to say most favorite part, and it's good that you said, in the beginning or before the recording that you never see, our video. That's good for you. That we prepare some of how to say fun question, not only related to testing, and we will start the first one, and it is, that how many games did the Finnish team lose or win on the World Championship game ice hockey this year in Czech Republic?
How many? Probably, I think we lost like 1/3 or maybe half.
I check it because I don't know this answer, but the ChatGPT is saying that 3 losses, 3 wins, and 1 loss. After that, that's in the end 4 losses and 3 wins. That's
Okay.
yeah, that's still good, better than Slovakia.
Yeah,
And
but not the best. Not the
according
best.
the Wikipedia, it's 3-3.
Yeah. Okay. What is better approach, ISTQM or TMMI?
ISTQB.
It is ISTQB.
Yeah.
Really?
It depends. Depends where. ICQB generally, there's more answers there.
Really? Okay,
Well,
maybe
yeah,
we'll
we have
discuss
like
more
20
deeper.
or 30 topics. That's lots of more answers than with TMMI. The main
Mm-hmm.
theme is around test improvement. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, they both complement each other.
Okay. Electric car or classic gasoline car?
Classic would be cooler, I think.
Okay, really? Okay. I'm really like moving, looking forward for this, green topic today. Okay. We will maybe discuss more this.
Depends what
Okay.
cool car.
Okay. It's from your perspective, is it certification good approach to assess people and their skills?
No. Certification assesses if you have passed some course. So for skills
Mm-hmm.
assessment, I would do something totally different. Work together.
Okay. Okay, good. If you could automate one thing from your life, what would it be? What it would be?
Managing calendars.
Okay.
Definitely.
Mm.
It takes so much time to run 4 different calendars, which are
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I can imagine. The same in my case, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have probably the last one, but we will see. What's more challenging? Writing a book about the dragons or explaining testing to someone who never heard about it?
Well, they are sort of approaches to the same thing. But I think explaining testing to somebody who never heard about it is more challenging. So many
Mm-hmm.
different backgrounds. You need to choose your approach.
Mm-hmm.
And
And our typical in
sometimes it
the
works,
end.
sometimes it doesn't work. With the dragons, I know it works.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
easier.
Okay, that's a very good last question from the
No,
hot.
no, we need to. I have one additional because
Really,
Kari.
I was trying to pick it up from
No,
here.
no, 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 no.
So,
Because Kari is from Finland. I have to ask this question. Wine or beer?
wine. It's wine.
Okay, 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 okay. Good. Sorry, Marcel, that now you can start with the main part of this discussion.
Okay, so I thought that I'll use the question about the dragons to start with the topic we prepared for today.
Mhm.
Apart from the testing expertise, or you being you as an expert in testing, you are also books writer. It's clear from the introduction. So we would like to discuss what are these new books about, and maybe tell us more details about it. If we could go into more details, that would be great.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay. So Dragons Out book first. So that was my idea when I completed during my sabbatical year. So I always wanted to do it, and then I found the time, year off from work, and I wrote this book where 2 children grow. It's a growth story as well. And a fantasy growth story. They join forces with some knights, and together they battle dragons, which are harassing villages and castles. And
Mhm.
and so I wanted to write fantasy, and I was able to do that. I also wanted to write about software testing, and I was also able to do that. So in the story, all the characters and events they represent something in the IT world. So children are actually users, knights are developers or testers, dragons are actually bugs, different kind of defects. And so when the journey goes on, they encounter different types of things, different dragons, different ways to vanquish or kill a dragon. So that means they learn about different types of defects and different kind of testing that can find those defects. So by doing this sort of approach of using parallels, I was able to have two birds and one stone, which is very very nice. And so it's nicely received, this book, with children and teachers and parents especially, but also professional testers who tend to find interesting analogies that I have not so specifically spelled out. So when you read a book like The Color of a Dragon has a meaning, but I didn't say exactly why something is black or why something is purple.
So it worked with children, and also, so they do not need to have any like testing context or understand what.
No, this is meant to be the first book that sort of introduces them, not only to software testing but also to IT in general. So it can be the first touch, or it can be first touch to testing. If some children have tried coding already earlier, so they know some of that.
I see. And this was written only in English, or you have some multi-language approach
actually
to
wrote
deliver
it
that?
in Finnish. When I translated it immediately to English, and then pretty soon after, a good friend of mine, Olivier Denot, translated it to French. And then I had another good friend from Poland, Lucian, translate it to Polish. So it's now being published in these languages. And there is also a German version coming up this year or next year. So
Wow, Marcel, maybe you can translate to Slovak. What do you think?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I have enough time to do that. But I think nowadays with the new technologies, you can easily do it quickly. Then someone need to review it. So I believe
the reviewing takes time. Reviewing takes so much time. So even if I used Google Translate to help in my Finnish to English translation, it still took probably almost the same time as was the original writing. Because
Did you try some?
You need to be careful in looking at the structures of sentences and the terms that you're using and everything. So maybe it saved a little bit of time, like 20% or 30% to start with, but then you need it to review and make it really good enough. And it's
And maybe it's also important to. Okay, I could imagine that I could pick or take the Finnish version and translate it. With ChatGPT, I was using that for some specific cases, and it looks better than Google Translate.
And technology evolves here all the time. This year we translated this Actually book, the second book that is now out, also from Finnish to English. And this time we used DeepL.com, and it gives much better results. And of course, it's a different year. It's 4 years apart, so technology has gone forward quite a bit. So the results were much better with DeepL. You could even almost send it out as is, but if you kind of scratch the surface a little bit, you really can't, because some terms are wrong, structure of sentences is wrong, especially the passive voice, active voice, that is also wrong, because Finnish language tends to be passive, and if you just translate that, it doesn't read well, because English language is much more active. You're saying, you are doing this, and this kind of things. So you need to the whole structure.
I could imagine that, and maybe for the Dragon book, it might be even more challenging, because I would expect that the second book is more technical, even if it's for the around the leadership. It's not so like fantasy book is pretty challenging for the.
It is. I've been translating software, just didn't know any some more words at all, like palisade. Palisade was totally wrongly translated. What is palisade? It's a fence made of wooden trunks, wooden trunks. And so I needed to replace this palisade all over that text. But with IT words, it's different because as we know, some term has a definition, and you could a layman could take a term and just say, or layperson could take a term and just use something like bug or defect or error. What do we actually call it? So ChatGPT or this DeepL.com would just take any term and just use it, and then you read it as a professional and you realize, oh, that's a wrong use of a term. So this was happening all the time.
I see.
Lots of fixes needed to be there.
And how do you distribute the book then to the end customers? Do you use Amazon, or you have your own website, or how it works?
Yeah, I do have my own website, dragonsout.com, which has a list of all the different sources where you can buy the book. But of course, with the English book, I really trust Amazon most because it's so big. It is available there, and in different countries, the local typical e-commerce websites have it. So that's kind of distribution.
And it's only available as a paper book, or it's possible to have it as an ebook?
So these are all Dragon's Art books are all printed books, and some of the versions also have ebooks. So English has ebook, Finnish has ebook. Hold on, also Polish has ebook, and French has ebook. Everything is in ebook. Yeah. And then the English one is also available as audiobook. So that's very nice. And I got to choose the narrator. So it was very nice. I got like 10 different samples, like MP4 files, and which one do you like? And I picked one, and then this person was drafted, and he read the book, and so it's a very nice audiobook.
So before we will move on to the next book, the recent one or new one, could you imagine that you would live out of just the publishing the books and writing books? Is it so well running business, because you said this is business for you? Could you completely leave the space of testing and just working on the books and it would work? Or
in the end it's still an IT book. And IT books don't sell. They are not the number one bestsellers on some big list. So it's pocket money, and it's really all costing all the time as well when you need to promote things and keep a company running. Pay the accountant and the bank, and there's all the time costs. So I'm not gonna live with books. I don't think anybody in IT can live with books, but it's still part of the how you get the testing message out to a world, and I think books are still very important part. Even for you have all kinds of courses, video courses, online resources, whatever. It's not going to replace book reading. Book reading is still a very important part and a way to get information. So I believe that will continue to be the case.
I see, and that's why you now finished the second book, and the second book is about, you said that already, testing leadership, right?
It is test leadership, and in this time the idea was kind of similar. There was a target group that me and Marco together we discussed, and we thought that there is a lack of understanding in the leadership level of organizations. So testers have lots of information, and there's lots of books, there's lots of courses for testers and developers, people who actually do testing. But people who lead it, they often don't know enough, or even at all, they don't know what testing is, and so they will end up doing wrong decisions, making wrong decisions. Often it means asking for wrong kind of testing, or asking for too little testing, or not asking testing at all. And this kind of misunderstandings can be very bad in the end for the quality of software.
So this is targeted readers like CTOs or lead of development or some head of engineering.
CXO level, it was the kind of a person, like CTO specifically was the kind of a person that we were thinking when we chose the words that we chose in how we wrote and how how much content we put into the book and what did we leave out. So we're all time thinking about CTO. But actually it turns out, and when we had lots of pilot readers, it turns out that it actually reads well to any IT professional and also people outside of IT, because it is a very simple, plain way to explain this difficult
So
IT.
my first impression based on the title was that it'll be more on the edge between HR, like managing people, and the IT, and this looks like it's more explaining testing to someone in management position and not touching the HR part. How this is
It's
structured?
maybe a bit more in a management position, yeah, because I suppose we would like to see that people who give budgets give enough budgets to testing, and that people who use subcontracting, they will require subcontractors to do lots of testing, and they are not going to do that if they don't understand that testing is important. So those people who make decisions are really the worry that we had. So we would like them to pick it up. And of course, testers also will pick it up because it's lots of testing content, and we also realized students pick it up now because it's so much information packed into these 270 pages that it's actually quite good for learning testing. Even though it doesn't go deep into testing, every time it goes into this is how you would test, it stops there because it's not meant to be a testing book, but test leadership book.
It means that me as IT engineering lead, I have to definitely read it, because then I will know how and why to invest to testing team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that I need to buy some, but only sign version.
Yeah. But there are many versions. Will be many versions available. So this Actually in English will be actually available in leanpub.com, so it will be very easy to get anywhere.
Okay. And you are publishing that next week or?
Next week, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We are pre-recording the session, so it'll be out there when we will publish this.
Done exactly.
I'm expecting that next week already is published. People, you can try it, you can buy it.
Yeah, it's out there. leanpub.com/act2lead.
Cool.
Yeah.
We could maybe add it to the description of the video if you would share the link. We could add it there. Okay, so when you was talking about that, some questions were popping up, and one was how I could convince my boss that he or she will read something about the testing. It's so challenging task. So how you are trying to do that? How you expect that people will be willing to read that type of topic? Even it's important. For some people it's not good, not big enough motivator. Do you have any tricks for that?
Well, the book is about lots about cases what can go well or wrong. So it's one way to see and learn where some people have failed. Of course, the fails have been anonymized quite a bit, so you can't know which company is which failing, unless it's a public failing, which it will be some website link or something like that. But the biggest reason really why people should understand testing and require a good amount of testing to be done is that the software that their users are using will be better. If it's better quality, it will be better business. It will be better income for the company. So that's really the biggest reason. And the other way around, if you don't invest time in quality and testing, the business will be worse. Customers will be unhappy. So
you are selling
about testing.
So you are selling that via some kind of stories and via some importance of quality for the business growth or business success in short.
Yeah, even in the intro we discuss why is it important to think about testing, and then further when you go further in the book you'll learn about different cases and ways of handling testing, and what not to do and what maybe to do, what kind of things to consider.
So the book is now published when our audience watching the video. So what will be next? Do you have some other plans? Some other book to write? Do you have some new idea you
Or
would
is
like?
something in progress?
No, not yet, not yet. The print version will be the next thing, because this leanpub.com publishing will be ebook only. So next we will need to figure out when exactly are we going to make a softback version of the English edition. But probably before that, feedback is available because Leanpub is actually a platform where you can, and you are even supposed to develop the book in a way, in iterative way, like agile software development. So you can and you should publish different versions of your book, make it better when you get feedback, grow a book until it is your vision of a book. So most likely we'll improve a book based on feedback we get in the next few months, and then have an updated version. And then that's ready. Then it's probably a right time to go for a printed book.
Cool.
But
We need to choose the platform as well.
But maybe the good topic also for the book should be maybe this, how to say, I remember your presentation on Sana Ibirex that you present this climate impact of software testing. I was completely surprised that, come on, what does it mean? I was completely lost because everybody are talking only about this electric car, what I ask in the hot seat. And then, somebody come with the idea of climate impact of software testing that I was completely surprised. Then this should be good, topic for this. And maybe, can you tell us more? What does it mean?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And so climate impact of software testing, or sustainability of testing, or green testing. Many words for that, roughly the same thing. So, and I think that point is very important. So when we work in testing business or IT in a bit broader sense, we tend to think that we are solving problems of other industries. We are providing better software to these companies so that they can do better and maybe more sustainable business. So, for example, we can remove paperwork. We can create paperless offices and make smoother value streams and processes through our software, and it will use less resources for with customers. And then we are in IT, when we are happy with that very often, and we have been quite happy for a long time. And so maybe we think about the cloud data centers and try to minimize the climate impact of those. So how little energy they should use, and maybe they should create the energy that they use through some renewable energy sources like wind power, solar power, or seawater cooling, or things like that. And then maybe we are happy, but it doesn't mean that even if we have this, and this is what we are influencing others in a positive manner. This is actually called carbon handprint. So we are often happy with the carbon handprint that we have in other companies and other businesses, but still we carbon footprint. So the fact that any activity that anybody is doing is creating some carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that is creating the climate change. We can't avoid that altogether, but we can try to minimize that. And so even testing has a climate impact. Even testing has a carbon footprint. So whatever we do, we are always using energy. When we test something, it will run in a test environment. The test environment is going to use energy, but energy is going to be created with some power plant, and that power plant, depending what kind of power it is, it will be CO2 emissions in the atmosphere, or maybe a little bit less if it's using wind. So we also need to think about how much energy we use and try to minimize our energy usage in whatever we do. And so that is really our responsibility. Or you could say that everybody in this world has a responsibility. So we can't only say that, hey, those big polluters, please do your share, pollute less. we can say that, but it's not going to solve all problems. We all need to pitch in and make our own ways, whatever we do, make it a bit greener.
But
So testing
practically
also
that
needs to do that.
But practically, how to start? Because you can imagine, the traditional, I don't know, not only IT companies, but that we have the IT that, especially what we discussed in the previous, topic, that sometimes we need to, how to say, still sell that it's software testing is needed and why it's important and why to invest in testing. And then how to start with like this type of topic that, okay, that me, for example, as like software QA engineer, that I would like to, explain, to management that okay, that we need to invest more because we would like to be more green. That how to
Yeah.
start maybe selling this topic and maybe what are the how to say what are the first steps, how to do it or how to measure it. That's because I don't have like this experience. Probably not only me.
Yeah, and not too many have. So one way is to look at some resources that are out there about sustainable testing or green testing, and also you could just go into green coding books and
Mm-hmm.
read a bit them, and so you get ideas on what can you do differently. And but luckily, lots of those actions are very practical, and they also make sense from point of view of good testing in general. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, optimizing your tests. So why wouldn't you run less tests to get the
Mm-hmm.
same results? How if you can do that, you will be using less energy.
Mm-hmm.
And from other point of view, it makes sense to run less tests because you are going to be faster. You get to
Mm-hmm.
your results faster. Now, how to do that? Well, you can use test techniques that minimize the number of tests that you're doing.
Mhm.
Or you can use
Mm-hmm.
prioritization, so you can focus on a big risk first, test those parts, and then you fix those parts, and only after you fix those parts, you move on to
Mm-hmm.
more testing. And so these things make sense from point of view to any tester anyway. Um, but often people are, and especially non-professional testers, they tend to be just testing just in case. We don't know exactly if we tested enough, so we'll test some more. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put one more week of testing here because we feel it's not yet ready. But that's a hunch, and it's often not true. So you would
Mm-hmm.
be just fine if you had measured what kind of coverage you received with your previous test. So
And
this means you need to tool up a little bit, add some coverage measurements, start using techniques so that you can
mm-hmm.
actually optimize or minimize your number of tests. And then also you can figure out how can you be faster. And then that means
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
start using more test automation because then you will be using less time in running a test, using less time in running an environment because test automation will pass in much faster time.
And do you
And
think
also
that
means
this
to
should
think about testing early. Again, it makes sense from any tester's point of view, but also from climate point of view. If you test early, you will be anticipating problems before they happen. So you are not going to be using those test servers because you already fixed something when you are talking to developers or business. Okay, this is what you're going to create. Why didn't you do it like this? And you fix problems before they are problems.
Mhm. And do you feel that these have to be also part of the like company like testing strategy that okay that we are not talking about only I don't know testing techniques but this is also connected with this sustainability?
That's a good point. That's a good point. So even though they might happen anyway, it's better that you highlight that they need to happen. So in a testing policy, you would need to say, for example, that we want to do lots of test automation, but we also want to make sure our testing is sustainable. And then you
Mm-hmm.
set a goal, and I think this applies to any goal. When you set a goal, you start moving towards that goal and you start making small decisions that contribute to this bigger goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens with sustainability as well. So
Yeah.
then I would add in the list of quality characteristics that I want to have in my testing, I would add also let's measure
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
sustainability or climate.
And did you see, I don't know, some implementation in company or somewhere that okay, that this is like good example that I don't know they're started, I don't know, look also on the testing part, the connecting with this climate impact?
Hmm. I've seen it. I've seen it mentioned in several test policies, but it's not very
Mm-hmm.
well established thing yet. So lots of companies are now looking into it, and they're trying to understand why is it important to think about sustainability when you think about testing, and then try to land it in the policies. And then it first lands in policies, it will start rolling out to actual teams and testing projects. So that's how I think it will happen. So it's at the moment in an awareness creating level, I think.
And this was like,
Soon
how
later
to
it will
say,
be further.
yeah, and this was like one time I like the topic on the Sanai because I'm also interested what were the feedback, from the audience.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was completely like shocked that come on, that somebody's thinking about of this. I was
Yeah.
that, come on, really? That's because that's everybody we are
Yeah.
thinking about is electricity or electric car, etc., but not like directly to our IT, etc. That maybe what were the feedback, to do the topics, and if you are continue with this, that if you are still, how to say, building this awareness and continue with this topic, or you will prepare some new presentation regarding this, and to still, how to say, build this awareness to people that yes, we have to start also in IT, not only think that electric car will like save the world.
Yeah. 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 I think I'll continue with this one, and I'm actually thinking about doing the book thing that you mentioned is not that far off, because I know that Finnish author has Janne Kaljala has written this Green Code book, and one I always recommend because I find it very interesting. It is a very good read, very eye opener. So I think something similar with testing would be very much in demand. And it doesn't need to be, and it's not a long book either, and it's a free book as well, because his catch is that it needs to be read by as many people as possible, and so even the price can be a problem. So that's why it's a free book. So I think that might be something I'll do as well in the next few years.
I noticed this topic in investment and in other areas before it came to the testing.
Yeah.
And it looks like there was some peak or some hype about that. And then it starts somehow disappearing. And I don't know whether it became just standard, so people don't talk about it anymore, or it's just disappeared. So is this idea about sustainability really sustainable? Will it continue, or how do you see the trends?
It will continue, and of course the reason why it's continuing is because policymakers in our governments are making it required. So if you look at what the EU, for example, is doing at the moment, they are adding corporate sustainability or corporate social responsibility reporting requirements to more and more companies. So they started with big companies, and then they have moved on to smaller and smaller companies. So it will be very soon a requirement of anybody over some threshold of I'm talking what's the number, let's say 100 people companies. They actually need to report how they are doing with sustainability, where the climate impact is one part. Other parts are, of course, like employees and customers and physical environment and whatever. Different.
So it's coming more from the government push than from the businesses. But
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
this is
government push is making it happen all over. So not just in big businesses that would do it anyway, but all over, all companies. I think that means it can't be forgotten.
Okay, so let's move to the last topic we prepared for today to fit it into our time schedule.
Sure.
So that's about the DevOps. You also mentioned that in the introduction, and I remember from our last discussion that you are now leading to that topic as something new into your training topics.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly, but you was talking about some certification schema or some DevOps schema and some model you will follow. So I would be interested, what's that about? So let's start with some very quick introduction.
Okay.
And then let's discuss it further. My initial understanding was always like DevOps, that's the thing. This is just tooling for Agile. So if someone is talking about DevOps, for me, it's just set of tools. So
Sure.
the topic about and what you are now working on, or you preparing, or you already prepared. So if you
Yeah,
could just broadly cover that, it would be interesting for me at
sure.
least, and hopefully for someone else as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, sure. So I think your understanding is a typical one. It's only one-sided thing, of course. So it's much more, and I think we need to understand that agile started even before agile was called agile in 90s by trying to create better. So agile is like 30 years old. In 90s, they started thinking about better ways to create software without any delays or misunderstandings or bad quality, and then that led to agile, agile manifesto in about 22 years ago, and then even then the idea was that you could deliver quickly and frequently good quality software to customer.
Mm-hmm.
And it required tooling, but it also required autonomous teams that can work on their own and make their own decisions. But it hasn't really happened. So Agile has really just made the software developers and testers to some extent to be agile and work in small increments. But in a bigger organization, especially after you are ready to deploy something into production, it can still be half a year before anything happens and it
Mm-hmm.
actually goes to customers. And it's like waste of time from point of view of a development team. And at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, the operations teams are kind of wondering, like, why are these hotshots in development always creating this new trouble that just breaks in production? And so this is this sort of a collision of different cultures, different ways of working, and different processes and different tools is and has been a problem, and that created DevOps. When was it? 15 years ago. And so DevOps is not new either. And part of DevOps is, of course, with tooling. So we see ICD pipeline, so that you have a test automation as part of that, but lots of other automation as well, installations, provisioning, actual deployment scripts. Anything that you need can be automated, so that if a developer changes something, it actually can go through with pipeline and end up in production. And that's basically the technical idea. But how to make that happen is also DevOps. And so the how is really with teams. How do you organize people into teams that don't need to talk to other teams all the time, but they are autonomous and they actually can and are allowed to make their own release decisions into production. So you need to shuffle with teams into a bit different structure than in a traditional organization. And so this is also DevOps culture. So DevOps culture is then similar to Agile or Lean culture, if you think about those. So I would even say DevOps is more the cultural things, the cultural change, or even transformation towards modern, high-performing organization.
And
So
how you deliver trainings around this culture change? Because that sounds like that's not something I would like just follow for a couple of hours and
yeah,
practice that.
well,
And
it is. So similar stuff that I just discussed right now can be discussed for many days in a row, because there's so much about it. Where it's about leadership, it's about managing change, driving change. It's also about understanding what kind of architecture, what kind of technology you need, and of course it's about the automation pipeline. So the tooling there, but yeah, there's lots of stuff. So you mentioned there's an association, and I'm also an active trainer of DASA, so that's DevOps Agile Skills Association. I've been that for 6 or 7 years already, and so quite a long time. And they have a portfolio of DevOps courses, which are about learning different this process view of cultural view of a DevOps. It's really lots of things. So kind of similar, like in Agile, you would go to a Scrum course. So when you extend Agile into DevOps, you need to understand how it works, and this is a DevOps course. But you still need your tooling courses as well, of course, and then you go to a tool course that is your choice, and any of these toolings, of course, can be different. So you can choose out of 10 different tool vendors or open source tools for any part of a CI/CD pipeline. So of course you need to go to those courses as well, or learn how to use those tools on your own. Up to you how you want to learn.
And what's the typical attendee for such a course? Is it someone from management or developer or testers or all these type of roles in IT or someone?
It's actually all of those people. It's all of those people, because the idea is that the change doesn't happen if the whole organization is not behind it. And that's maybe the biggest failing with Agile. Agile has been put into the development team space. So even though it was meant to be the whole organization, but it's become something like, okay, the developers can work like we want, like Agile. But DevOps is trying to fix that, and so that's why DevOps needs to be in company management. So some of those data courses are geared to company management level, and some are actually for team members, and some are for product owners, and some are for product management, and some are for portfolio management. So they try to have something for all the roles in the company. Of course, for testers and developers as well. So it's quite important.
And is it something similar to ISTQB schema where you have this learning objective and then you have some
very
cognitive
similar
levels and certification at the end, or?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, very similar. So actually, maybe that's why it was an easy step for me to take because it looked familiar. There's syllabus, there are courses, and there are certification exams, there are sample exams. You can use to practice before you go to live exam. And yeah, so it works in a very, very much the same fashion. It's much smaller than ISTQB as compared to number of certificates, but it looks like DASA is the biggest DevOps training and certification body. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. So
but
maybe
that's still just the cultural part. So if you look at my own business, I also want to have some tooling courses available. So that's why I've put together courses around the open source tool set up to create CI/CD pipelines. So I have some trainers who train that stuff. That's too technical for me. I don't know how to train those, but I train with DevOps culture part, and I have technical trainers for the pipeline.
Yeah, delivering these type of courses might be pretty challenging if you don't cover like top 3, because there is so many tools, and to cover them all, it's almost impossible. But maybe let me close this topic by one of the last question, and that's you was talking about the culture and everyone need to change in the organization, but there is a new role, or I'm not sure whether it's new, but some people hiring DevOps engineers. So is it something like how it fits into that what we learned until now?
It doesn't really. In a DevOps organization, everybody really is DevOps. But if you're hiring DevOps engineer, that's typically the deployment script implementer person. And of course, if you don't know how to do it, you would hire somebody because that would be the skill that you miss in your team. You would need to set up a CI/CD pipeline, so you hire a person for that. And how would you call that person? Well, DevOps engineer.
Yeah.
Very often.
Sometimes
So that's how it
IT
has become. The problem is, of course, that it's when people think that's the DevOps, but it's not. It's only the deployment pipeline creation.
Because sometimes I see that in organization are missing some infrastructure people that they create a new role as DevOps engineer because it's more sexy, but they are still looking for somebody who will be deploying or maintain infrastructure, and he don't know maybe the CI/CDs pipelines etc. That is about culture, but still this DevOps engineer role is not really what everything is covering the DevOps like culture.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's really only covering that tooling part. but you can also hire, and you can see if you look at job market, you can hire DevOps transformation consultants or transformation engineers, and then that would be more like we change consultancy or change management, where you make it happen. You try to get the whole organization with you, find common goals, what to change. Okay, hire also a technical guy who can set up the pipeline, but what's other things, reshuffle the teams a little bit, try to create self-service between different teams. So all these kind of things need to happen, and so a transformation person would be actually that sort of person.
Okay,
But
perfect.
we are seeing these people now jumping up, and it's happening more and more.
Okay, I think we are at the end. So thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
covered 3 brilliant topics, so I really enjoyed the discussion and listening. And I wish to all other visitors or followers that they will enjoy it as well. Maybe last questions. Would you like to add something more at the end?
I think it's good, but I would say try to think through quality glasses. Think about quality, whatever you do, and you'll end up making good decisions and not hasty ones. That's my big hint.
Okay,
Wow,
thank
that's
you.
nice.
So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kari, joining us today, and enjoy our show next time or this time. Let's wish for all our
Super.
Thank you.
followers.
Thank you very much, Kari. And I hope that everybody now are subscribing and following this, not only this episode, but the whole Make It Fun, and also that everybody is ordering your new book. Thank you very much.
Super. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.